Welcome back, everybody, to the Phightins final here on the Edge of Phillies Sports with your boy Matty B, resuming his duties as the host of this show. It's been a minute, but I'm glad to be back, and I could not be back or not be happier to be back on such a night like tonight. Phillies pulling it off again tonight, 4-3 winners over the Milwaukee Brewers down there at Citizen Bank Park. Phillies have now stretched that winning streak out to 4. They have now gone a season best 10 games over 500, 52-42. And everything is, I guess, all systems go as this team prepares for the second half push. And here we are to talk about it. Biggest thing that I took away from this game was the Phillies committed 3 errors and still won. I mean, it's a Philadelphia thing to do. This team is what they are, and I know a lot of people on this network specifically want to try to tell you that and try to make you believe that they are what they are. But I guess maybe I'm the one who's not believing because a team that boasts a leadoff guy that bats around 190 and then commits 3 errors and still wins. That's not supposed to happen in Major League Baseball, but it happened tonight. The Phillies did what they had to do on offense just enough. Kyle Schwarber led off the game with his 26th career leadoff home run as he continues to do nothing but hit home runs. Aaron Nola pitched very serviceably today, over 7 innings of decent work, was not helped by those 3 errors at all, but he did enough. He did enough to get the win, and the Phillies as a team did enough. I guess that's the mantra tonight. They did enough to get the win, 4-3 over the Brewers, who were red hot in their own right coming into town, the first place team in the NL Central. But the Phillies took care of their business tonight, 4-3, and they win the night. And the Edge of Philly Sports chimes in with who am I talking about? And I'll give you credit, Al. I'll give you credit for what you're talking about. But I said I'll give you credit for what you said. They are what they are, so get used to it. That's not what I'm. I can't. A team that commits 3 errors should not win, but they did tonight. And a team that boasts a leadoff hitter who bats 190, and all he literally does is hit home runs. I sound like friggin' Buddy Ryan here talking about Chris Carter. All he ever does is catch touchdowns. That's how ridiculous I'm starting to sound about this. But all he ever does is hit home runs, and yet the Phillies find ways to win, and they do it tonight, 4-3, 4 in a row, and I'll give Al the credit that's Al's due. So yeah, get out of here, Al. How do we compare this year with last year's team? Dennis, that's a great question, and we put that question to bed months ago. That was one of the things that got me out of bed during the early season of this team when they were struggling. I kept looking back at 2022, making sure that everything was, kind of par for the course of what was happening in 2022. This is not the same team, and I want to stay away from comparing these two teams. In 2022, they didn't win the World Series, so I hope they don't compare to 2022 because obviously we want to win a World Series. So I'm going to stay away from that, Dennis. I'm going to stay away from the comparisons of 2022. There are some similarities. Maybe we'll call them that instead of comparisons. There are some similarities to this team. The Kyle Schwarber leadoff hitting is a similarity. The defense tonight with a not such a stellar effort was a similarity. The team's lack of clutch hitting throughout most of the season is a similarity. But the starting pitching is different from last year. It's not. I mean, the starting pitching last year was, I thought, a little bit better, if not more consistent than it has been this year. And we're going to get into Aaron Nola's night tonight. As it seemed like Nola's been off for like a minute since the last time he pitched, but he did enough tonight. So, Dennis, I'm going to stay away from the comparisons. Let's talk similarities. I guess that's the best word we can say. He hits dingers. I get it. Schwarber with homers in 4 straight games. Walter, thank you for bringing that up. That is correct. Kyle Schwarber with home runs now in 4 straight games, but all he does is hit homers. Again, starting to sound as ridiculous as Buddy Ryan did when he was talking about Chris Carter and touchdowns. And Chris Carter went off to go into the Hall of Fame. I don't like it. I'm going to sit here and tell you, Walter, I don't like Kyle Schwarber as a leadoff hitter. I don't like Kyle Schwarber at all. I think he needs to be traded. I'm sorry. I'm not going to come off the hill. I'm going to stay up there with my, I got the Howie Roseman tent. I'm going to build my Kyle Schwarber tent right next to it. Yeah, is he going to hit home runs every night? Oh, obviously he's done it the last 4 games, but is that something we're going to rely upon? Is that something that in October, Walter, in October when we're in a 5 or 7 game series, that Kyle Schwarber is going to be relied upon to hit home runs on every game? I don't remember him being uber productive last postseason. So I need something more from the leadoff man. Again, it sounds ridiculous for me to be saying that about Kyle Schwarber as he's hit 4 home runs in 4 straight games. But yeah, that's how I feel. He did strike out in his final at bat. That's right, Walter. He did. Thank you, Walter. I know I can count on you to support me. Thank you. And Daniel says, yo. So let's get into this game here tonight. 4-3 Phillies, the winners over the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's talk the scoring as we've already kind of talked ad nauseum. Kyle Schwarber got things started for the Phillies. First pitch of the game. First pitch of the bottom of the first. Obviously not of the game. Phillies did not lead off. He would homer to make it 1-0. And then Alec Bowman ground out to second. Basically, fielder choicing in JT Realmuto to make it 2-0 Phillies. And then Nick Castellanos continues to swing that hot stick, knocking in Trey Turner in third. 3-0 Phillies. But here come the Milwaukee Brewers. Montecero would double in Tapia, who was picked up by the Brewers. If you guys remember, Tapia played not too long ago for the Boston Red Sox, but was released. But the Brewers picked him up. 3-1 Phillies. Turang reached on an infield single to second, scoring Mysterio to make it 3-2. It was on a fielding error by Derek Hall, and I'm going to talk Derek Hall tonight as well. 3-2, and then Stott would get some insurance for the Phillies in the fifth, but knocking in Trey Turner to make it 4-2, and Kristen Yelich with fielder's choice in Mysterio to make it 4-3, and that was in the eighth, and that was all that she wrote for the Brewers tonight as the Phillies, thanks to Aaron Nola, Greg Soto, and Craig Kimbrell, were able to lock it down. Nola 7 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. Soto with the hold, he pitched a half an inning, and Craig Kimbrell comes on to pitch the ninth, a save, his 16th. He did have a strikeout to his credit. Teran gets the loss for the Brewers. He is now 2-4. Nola, by the way, 9-6 now on the season. He only lasted 4.5, 7 hits, 4 runs. They were all earned, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. McGill, Ray, and Mejia would pitch as well. Offensively for the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber 1 for 5 with the RBI. It was a home run. But that was it. He hits the leadoff home run, and then he doesn't hit anything. He says strike out once at the end, as Walter mentioned. His average is now up to a hefty 189. Johan Rojas would come in a pinch hitting role, 0 for 0, or pinch running, or center field or defensive replacement, sorry. Trey Turner, 2 for 4. Bryson Stott, 2 for 4. Alec Bohm, 2 for 4. Nick Castellanos, 1 for 4. Derek Hall, he did have a hit, 1 for 4. Those were your offensive numbers for the Phillies. And then for the Brewers, as I mentioned, Nola pitched well tonight. He did. It was really good to see Nola pitch the way he did tonight. It was needed. It was definitely needed as we are getting ready not only to, push for the playoffs, but we got the trade deadline. Either is this a showcase for Nola or is this a showcase for Nola as you went 7 1/3 for the Phillies. And that's how you get 4-3. Phillies victorious tonight down there at Citizen Bank Park. And then tomorrow, don't forget the Phillies, this set will continue. Tomorrow night is another 6:45 start, or 6:40 start. Rhea versus Christopher Sanchez down there at Citizen Bank Park. And be there, be square. Great night for baseball, actually. So, it is what it is. Walter sets me up with Phillies in second place in the East in the final wild card spot for now. Yeah, we're going to get over the standings. That's right. We have entered this section or the part of the season on this when I host. Well, I'm actually going to talk about the standings. We are past the All-Star break, so I'm going to go over the standings here in a second. Edge of Philly Sports says he's over with Derek Hall. Me too. Derek Hall doesn't seem to be the moment seems to be really too big for him right now. Not really producing much at all. And now he's a defensive liability at the boot. So I don't know. Big questions for the Phillies when it comes to Bryce Harper playing first base. Ellis, hey, Ellis, how you been? I haven't talked to you in a while. Big win tonight for the Phillies. Absolutely. Let's take a look around Major League Baseball, shall we, on this Tuesday evening. Stuff going on there in the league. Talk about some games that have gone final. The Giants would beat the Reds 42 in 10 innings. And of course, Phillies over the Brewers 4-3. Games that are still ongoing. The Dodgers are all over the Orioles 10-3 in the bottom of the ninth. Mets over the White Sox 11-9. The Diamondbacks, bottom of the ninth, are beating the Braves 16-13. I don't know what's going on out there. In the bottom of the fifth, the Reds over the Giants 8-7. Top of the ninth, Marlins and the Cardinals tied at 2. In the going into the eighth, the Rangers are up 5-1 over the Rays. Top of the eighth, the Cubs all over the Nationals 9-3. Bottom of the eighth, Royals over the Tigers 11-6. Bottom of the sixth, 4-3 Rockies over Astros. Out there on the West Coast, at the bottom of the third, 2-1 Angels over the Yankees. Bottom of the second, A's over the Red Sox 3-0. In the bottom of the second, it's the Mariners over the Twins. More games that have gone final. The Guardians over the Pirates 10-1, and the Padres over the Blue Jays 9-1. And as promised, let's now peek at the standings as the Phillies now have, by virtue of their win and the fact that the Marlins game is not over yet, have actually moved into second place by percentage points. They are tied with the Marlins, now 10 games back of the Atlanta Braves in the NL East for that division. Haven't given up hope in the NL East, folks, and I won't. I'm one of those kind of guys. So Philly's now 10 games out of first place in the National League East. And, of course, the more interesting is the wild card race. And as, again, Phillies, by virtue of percentage points, have moved into a second-place tie, or I should move into a tie for the second wild card with the Diamondbacks, both sporting identical 52 and 42 records. They are now just one game behind the Giants for the first wild card spot. So it's the Giants, Phillies, Diamondbacks, Marlins, and the Reds, two and a half games behind those teams as the NL wild card race is starting to heat up. And I imagine it's going to be like this for the majority of this season. So there you have it, 4-3 Phillies. Let's go to Matty B's stat sheet. You guys know I like to keep this. As I mentioned, the Phillies committed 3 errors tonight, but yet won. They have now committed 52 errors on the season. It's a little over a half an error a game. Their opponents have only committed 39. So a stat, 3 errors in a game, even though they won, it's not a good number. The Phillies have now committed 3 errors 4 times this season. So that's 3 times this season. So that's not really good at all. But I'll take it. Again, it's who they are, right? It's who they are. The Phillies have also, with the Kyle Schwarber home run, now have 106 home runs on the season. Not the number that you thought they would have. Their opponents have hit 105 home runs against. They struck out 7 times tonight. Phillies have now struck out 856 times on the season, a little over 9 per game. Still not a number that I like. And then my vaunted runners left in scoring position tonight, 2 for 10 on the season now, 200 for 774. That's a 258 batting average with runners in scoring position for the Phillies. If you're at home keeping score like I am. But again, I'll go back to what I start tonight. I guess they are what they are, and you have to accept that and just hang on for the ride. I don't know. It doesn't make me feel good running into October. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It just does not make me feel good. David says Yankees are in the basement. The Mets are close behind. Yankees are in the basement in an extremely difficult division. The AL East is off the chain. I'm glad we're not in the AL East. They're in the basement, but in a very, very difficult division. The Mets are metting up all over the place. And that's one of the positive things about this season is the downfall of the Mets. Haven't really had to listen to any of that nonsense from Mets fans. I haven't even seen them on this show. They were all over this show last year. Where have you been, guys? Come on, man. You got to be able to take it as well as give it. All right. So, but yeah, that's a great thing to see the Mets. But the Yankees are a Shohei Ohtani away from making a run in the AL East, and don't count them out until after the trade deadline, and they don't go ahead and acquire him. So, never count the Yankees out. Unfortunately, I've learned to live. I've learned that over the years. Eric says the Mets and Padres sucking is such a delightful bonus to the MLB season. Absolutely. But you know what? I want the Padres to get better because I want to see them again in the playoffs. Because I don't think we could lose to the Padres if we tried. and that's a great thing. So 4-3 Phillies winners tonight. Huge game, 4-game winning streak, 10 games now above 500 at 52 and 42 on the season, as they've now moved into a tie for the second wild card spot in the NL East. And remember, if you're looking to travel like the pros, look no further than Philly Sports Trips, as they got you covered. Anything that you need to do, they got trips all over the place. Um, they got as you can see, they got the Eagle stuff already up here. And then they got some stuff coming up here with the Phillies, and we'll talk about that right now. This is for next season. Of course, the trip across the pond to see the Phillies and Mets in London on June 6th through the 12th. Philly Sports Trips got you covered. And if you don't want to wait till then we got September, a trip out to San Diego, and those aforementioned Padres. Look at those Phillies go out there and just continue their dominance. No matter what you're looking for, Philly Sports Trips has you covered, as does this man, Dave Cherry. If you have any workman's compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or criminal law questions, 610-565-0300 is the man to call. And then when you're on your way, after you call Dave Cherry, go down to Dolan's and for Quizzo Music, great times, memorabilia, PJ and the crew, tell them Matty B and EOP sent you. And just enjoy yourself. Have a great time. And don't forget, finally, no hidden fees and great prices. Sherry's Ticket Town's got you covered. Sports tickets, theaters, www.sherrystickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code EOP10. Folks, that's going to wrap me up. Great to be back with you tonight on the Phightins Final. It's been a minute. This is unfortunately the last time I will be on the final this week. But Al and Pat will have you covered for the rest of the week. Until we talk again, it's an honor to be back. I'm sorry that I haven't been around much, but duty calls. I will promise I will be back in a more consistent basis here coming up soon. But for now, you just have to deal with Al and Pat, but they got you definitely covered, more than adequately. Eric says bullpen has been stellar. If you had told me Sir Anthony would be largely ineffective and Alvarado would have been 2 cents in IL by this point in the season, I would have told you Phillies would be at 500 at best. Absolutely, Eric. And of course, biggest part of that bullpen has been Mr. Craig Kimbrell. I bet you EOP Sports didn't call that one now, did they? Where you at, EOP Sports? Why don't you take it better than you can give it here? But Craig Kimbrell has been an absolute blessing in disguise for this bullpen. You mentioned Sir Anthony's ineffectiveness. You mentioned the two disabled stints by Alvarado. Well, don't forget Brogdon, Bellotti. They've been ineffective. I mean, it's basically a whole new bullpen than last season. You had Strom, Hoffman, Vasquez, Kimbrell. I mean, they're pretty much different. The entire bullpen is different than it was a year ago. So you're absolutely right, Eric. Really good point. It might not be what, the story could not be what we're talking about if it hadn't been for the bullpen coming through as they have the season. Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you admit. I'm glad you can admit when you're wrong there, EOP. But there you go. Listen, folks. Again, it's been great to be back. Phillies win 4 in a row tomorrow. They'll be back at it with the Brewers as they continue to kind of wrap up this homestand. Make sure you head out to Citizen Bank Park and make sure you're tuned in here on Edge of Philly Sports, as we got you covered after every Phillies game for the Phightins Final. Again, this will be my last time on this week, but Al and Pat will have you the rest of the way. It's going to wrap me up, except for one more thing. What am I missing? Harry the K. That's right, man. What you got, brother?